When we talk about robotic process automation, a lot of people start to think about bots themselves, the physical bots. But in reality, it's not just about the bots. It's about the smart software, the intelligent softwares that we actually use. And the purpose of the bots is nothing but to realize and make the company's vision really true. And that's all about it. Robotic process automation is all about strategy. It's about increasing your business value. It's about creating a center of excellence needed to make sure that you embed RPA deeply and effectively into the organization. So that's all about the basics of RPA. And in terms of technology and the future has to offer, RPA is actually moving from process automation towards more of cognitive automation, right? So the standard process automation was repetitive, manual, structured, and logical tasks. But with the cognitive kind of automation, it is moving more towards repetitive, manual, situational, and decision-oriented tasks. Basically, the complexity is increasing, and it's more about knitting the different algorithms and different applications to make sure that the softwares are integrated together very well. Another important thing that we have to consider is that it's not just about conventional support functions. Like in the past, we used to think of RPA only for backend functions like HR, finance and accounts, IT and data management, tax or legal. It's no longer like that. It's actually moving towards the next functions, core functions, which is supply chain logistics, core operations, aftermarket product support, engineering and product development. So it's not just no longer just about the basics, the back-end functions and all that. Why we should be looking towards RPA, or why we should be looking towards creating a center of excellence for RPA. So RPA basically offers you so many benefits that it really merits to consider RPA application in your business. The first of all, the most important thing for any business is how you create value. So it's about creating increased value for the business itself. It's about optimizing and reducing the costs. It's about increasing the speed with which you can respond to the customers. It's also about the quality of product and service that you actually deliver for the customers. And it's about improving your compliance. The cost of the bots, and when we say bot, again, it's not just about physical bots, it's also about the smart softwares based on AI applications. You can see that in some of the applications, actually, humans take roughly almost 15 times more than a bot. So the speed can increase and the quality can increase, the number of errors can reduce. And also, according to some studies, the error rates in some processes actually reduced from 60 to 70% to almost zero. And that means you are reaching a very high level of quality. Use of RPA also adds towards improving the decision-making process because you get better data points, you get better insights into your data analytics, which is physically sometimes impossible for humans to go through so many files and all that. Again, when RPA is assigned the basic, repetitive, mundane sort of tasks, the employees, the human beings are having the opportunity to go and do high cognitive work, and that creates a lot of employee satisfaction as well. Scalability is also very easy. So you can always scale the operations if you have bot operations. You can have increased uptime, process standardization. And another important thing with bots is that you don't have to do sampling, right? Because with human beings, a lot of data points and all that, you have to sample the data. And every time you sample the data, you actually lose the accuracy, the precision. With bots, you don't have to do sampling. That actually increases your output rates and all that. Plus, bots are physically available for you 24/7, and that means for many plant and automation engineers and managers, they can be a source of data for 24/7 basis, which is very, very important for plant managers. The next is about what are the key things that you need to consider before RPA implementation. So the first thing is need analysis. So you need to really take a look at, is there a business need for that? Why do we need to do that? We don't do anything in business unless there is a business case. So need analysis is number one. You don't do RPA just for the sake of doing RPA because some other competitors are doing it or some of the other players in the industry are doing it. The second thing is perform a VSM. So carry out a value stream map. Draw the flow chart, but not just the flow chart, draw the value stream map, because value stream map has the ability to remove the excess steps in the business process. And in this way, once you remove the business process extra steps, then you can automate the process. If you do not remove the waste or the non-value added activities from the process, you won't be able to get an accurate estimate of the automated process. You want to remove the waste from the process. The next thing is, if you have a core system that can be altered to implement automation cost effectively, then I think this process is more of a priority for an effective RPA implementation. And that's very, very, very important. The next area is, when you are doing this, please make sure, because of the data security issues, cyber security challenges, data breaches that are happening, that you do have to have the client's permission for data confidentiality and usage for the sake of security of data. If you have outsourced processes, make sure that proper delivery methods are implemented and applied. And finally, evaluate the RPA vendors thoroughly. That's a very, very important point that people need to consider. Now, let's get into the fact that how do we actually implement the RPA? So how to do it? What are the steps? So the first step is build the skills and capacity and the capability in the organization. And when I say that, it is very important that we have to have the business side of it and the IT side of it working jointly, in line, in support with each other. And at the same time, you have to look at when you develop the team, there are plenty of interesting roles that need to be there. And, just to give you a flavor, and for the sake of time, at least I will announce those roles that need to be incorporated into the system. So you should have RPA sponsors, you should have RPA champions, you should have RPA change managers, you should have RPA business analysts, solution architects, developers, infrastructure engineers, supervisors, service support. And finally, once you have a balanced team, step 2 should be you create an environment, a scalable, a functional and technical environment that should involve robotic configurations, a maintenance support, a performance and connectivity, and make sure that you involve IT in the early process of due diligence. Sometimes people miss out on this, and at the end of the day, it causes a lot of unwanted problems. The next step in terms of execution is articulating an effective governance model. So since you are going to touch a lot of business processes, governance processes in the organization, so make sure that you have a stable, centralized governance model that you apply. So good governance, we all know it goes a very long way. It includes assessing the RPA opportunities and prioritizing automation activities. It also provides guidelines for assessment, design, development, and deployment of bots. Productivity and performance metrics are very important. So what gets measured gets done. What gets measured gets better. And finally, enable the center of excellence and prepare for scale up. Scaling up is very, very important. So you don't want to do automation in a certain part of your business just to have a short-term win, and then you are unable to scale that, because at the end of the day, it's all about the center of excellence or implementing it into the business process so you can create the overall value for the business. So before you press the go button, make sure that the strategy and the growth plans of the leadership are already incorporated into the process of RPA implementation. So finally, a couple of recommendations from experiences. Number 1, treat RPA as an enterprise capability. That means do not try to take RPA and implement it into smaller pieces in the organizations, because at the end of the day, it has to be an enterprise strategy to deliver on the overall strategic vision, mission, values, and the purpose of the organization. So don't run it in silos. Don't automate in silos. Go for the enterprise value, and don't look for the short-term gain. Look for the value creation in the longer term. Second recommendation is focus on developing your RPA skills. So your core robotic operating team. So you make sure that you are not 100% dependent on the vendors. You should be able to develop core capability, a centralized team that should operate and work with the team members across the organization. So you should have a certain level of core capability with clear goals and roles. And again, business and IT teams together. That's very, very important. The third recommendation is establish a mature communication plan. So a mature communication plan is the one which is kind of a balanced plan that takes all the issues and challenges of communication across the organization, and that makes sure that the messages are consistent and they flow in a perfect way towards accomplishing the goal of the organization. The next recommendation is about it has to be business-led, IT supported, right? So don't do it half-heartedly. It has to be led by the management. Management buy-in has to be there, and you should be driving it from the top. It shouldn't be just a IT kind of a project. It has to be taken as an enterprise-wise project. One word of caution that, in this process, the bots can go crazy. So you have to make sure that you have a central command center where you can manage those issues if the bots operate in a way which is inconsistent and not supportive for your business. And again, finally, which is something which is very important, and it's kind of a theme that's been repeated in various conversations, the human element of technology. So you have to make sure that human resource team leaders, they engage with people. There are people engagements where people are able to understand and connect with the overall project and deliver on that. So with all these recommendations, a final word from my side that we often talk about digital disruption is coming. Well, it's not coming. It's already here, right? So let's make sure we understand that digital disruption is not coming. It's already here. So either you disrupt or be disrupted. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
There are lots of questions.
Okay, there's a lot of questions. Let's start.
Yeah.
Okay. How much can we rely on AI during the current pandemic issue?
That's a good question. So artificial intelligence, reliance. Let me tell you one thing, that according to a study, 67% of the people do not realize that they are actually already using AI, right? So it's not about that how much you can rely, you're actually already relying on that. So AI is helping you a lot in terms of, geofencing, geotagging operations. So a lot of things, for example, that you are trying to order sitting from your home, whether they are groceries or meals or other things, you should know that AI is operating at the back of those software platforms. So definitely you are relying right now. It's just that, as I just mentioned, digital disruption is not coming. It's already here. Similarly, AI is already here. So yeah, we are actually relying on AI to a certain extent, but we probably don't know that.
Okay. And how do you view learn, relearn, unlearn, and relearn all the time?
Exactly. So Alvin Toffler was a great thinker, and he came up with this line that, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is a very important line. And somebody was asking me after a conference somewhere that, what's the most important skill in the future? So I said, the ability to learn how to learn. Because a lot of things will be changing, and a lot of people who will be in different phases of their lives and ages and experience, they will find it pretty hard to change their habits and change their life. Ask a 55-year-old person who has never done programming in his life or her life, and ask that person to learn Python. So it's harder for the person, although that person, if he or she is willing to unlearn and relearn, they can still develop a future career. So it's going to be a very, very important skill. Excellent question.
Okay, another person has been asking about AI. Maybe you should talk more about AI, because I'm not going to ask the question again. How does AI add value?
How does AI add value? So first of all, let's understand where AI actually comes into action. So where we have routine and repetitive tasks, that's where AI comes into action, right? Yeah. So for example, let's say there's a doctor, and the doctor has to go through, let's say, 10,000 pages of reports in like 3 days to come up with some conclusions.
Yes.
Now, the doctor is very competent, but it's a routine, repetitive tasks, mundane tasks, right? The doctor will be tired of that. So what if there is a software that scans, maybe an RPA, a smart robotic software that reads and scans the whole document and finds out the relevant stuff and bring the conclusions for the doctor, so that the doctor could do the higher cognitive work. And that's actually will encourage the doctor more because he or she won't be doing clerical work. So that's where the AI's value.
Funny enough, one person is asking AI in manufacturing. So you're talking about doctors. How can AI relate to manufacturing?
Yeah, when it comes to manufacturing, again, AI Actually, a lot of AI stuff started in manufacturing, right? So when we talk about 3D manufacturing or additive manufacturing, a lot of AI work is going to happen over there. So for example, think about, you want to build a large building in Dubai, for example. And today, Dubai has excelled in terms of bringing blocks and putting it together. So what if tomorrow, using AI, they create 3D printers, and there's a time to construct a building like Burj Khalifa. But tomorrow, through 3D printing, you might be able to construct buildings like this pretty quickly. So it's a huge role for in manufacturing in terms of robotics, optimizing the process control, improving the quality of the product. So yeah, but with manufacturing, always remember that you want to understand AI, look for 3D and additive manufacturing. 3D printing and additive manufacturing, read more on that, and you will understand how it's operating in the manufacturing sector.
Excellent.